President Trump's administration says the United States will shift its focus towards increasing dominance in Latin America and vigorously fighting migration. It is a strategy which has been put forward in a national security paper aimed at laying out Mr. Trump's America First ambitions. It also had harsh criticism for traditional American allies in Europe, saying that Washington will champion opponents to European Union-led values on immigration. So let's talk to Naomi Lim, who's White House reporter at the Washington Examiner and is with us now. Naomi, good to have you with us. What do you make of this strategy? Is this kind of predictable, America First, in line with the Trump White House as we've seen it unfold since he returned to the White House?
You're exactly right. I mean, we've had drafts of this document sort of circulating since earlier this year. So we had a little sort of hint about what was going to happen. To your point, it shows this huge pivot towards Latin America, towards the Western Hemisphere, which is something that is really important to the Trump administration as they try to sort of counter illegal immigration, particularly through the southern border. I think what sort of caused critics to be concerned is the idea that it's also pivoting away from Europe amid the, Russia-Ukraine war, as well as sort of recalibrating this relationship with China. Obviously, previous administrations have been a lot more antagonistic towards China, and so there was talk that there was actually a delay in this report till after the presidents of Donald Trump and Xi Jinping actually met on the sidelines of the APEC summit in South Korea. So this is particularly in line with like the America First policy, trying to really shore up borders and national security interests. But sort of traditional Republican conservatives, it leaves a lot to be desired.
Okay. And just in terms of the way it views Europe and the European Union and the values within European nations, a kind of hostility there.
I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, we saw Vice President J.D. Vance sort of really announce that posture at the Munich Security Conference sort of in February. So we knew that was coming. And I think there's been obviously tensions between the US and the EU, particularly over trade. And I think that this is sort of a recalibration. I think that the idea is it's in line with this idea of the Monroe document, bringing back sort of America focus to its own hemisphere with countries that it actually shares a border with.
Naomi, stay with us because we've got other matters stateside that we want to discuss. Namely, let's talk about the strike that there's been, another strike by the US military actually, on a boat in the Eastern Pacific, killing 4 people. Now, the military says this latest attack came after intelligence confirmed the vessel was carrying illicit drugs along a known drug trafficking route. It also said the strike was carried out at the direction of the US Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth. So far, more than 80 people have now been killed in the Trump administration's campaign against alleged drug traffickers, with some politicians questioning the legality of these military attacks. Well, this is House Democrat Jim Himes, and here are some of his comments on those military attacks.
Any American who sees the video that I saw will see the United States military attacking shipwrecked sailors. Bad guys, but attacking shipwrecked sailors. But what I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have 2 individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who are killed by the United States.
Well, Republican Senator Tom Cotton saw this attack in which 2 survivors of that boat were killed. He sees things rather differently. He said the second strike was warranted.
The first strike, the second strike, and the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we'd expect our military commanders to do. I saw 2 survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs bound for the United States back over so they could stay in the fight.
Well, let's go back to Naomi Lim, White House reporter at the Washington Examiner. Now, the fallout from this particular attack on a so-called narco boat in which those 2 survivors were killed in a second strike, that fallout continues, doesn't it? And it's really exacerbated the criticisms of the White House and the doubts about the legality of what the administration is doing here.
Exactly. I mean, this is a focus on a September incident of what we call sort of a double type strike. So essentially, the administration came in, they attacked this boat, and then the question remains about what happened with the survivors. It's raised a lot of questions because there was originally reporting that the War Secretary, Pete Hegseth, ordered that no survivors, be left. And that is at odds with sort of the law of armed conflict. Now, what we're seeing as, top-ranked Pentagon officials come and testify before Congress is that, there was a plan. The idea was that if they were, going to maybe be another hostile act, that then they could order this strike. But we're seeing, we always talk about the sort of the fog of war. This is the fog of politics, the way that these different lawmakers have come out from the video footage that we're now seeing from it. But it has sparked more questions, not only about this particular strike, but the broader strategy. But we're seeing, there'll be a vote in the Senate today about trying to reel back in the administration's war powers when it comes to these attacks against Venezuela, or these boats off the Venezuelan coast, as well as sort of investigations into Hegseth. But it caused ripple effects. I mean, the UK has stopped sharing intelligence with the US when it comes to these strikes because they think that it's a sort of, inhumane, it's a war crime. And so I think that there'll be repercussions, particularly with the public as well, because there's been recent polling that 75% of the public don't actually quite understand what the Trump administration is doing here with its strategy against these boats.
Right, and for the meantime, I mean, the White House and Pete Hegseth himself simply shrugging off all the criticisms and claims of illegality that we've seen in the last few days.
Yeah, and it comes at a time where Hegseth is now under sort of more scrutiny because of the infamous sort of Signal Gate incident that happened in March, where a journalist was added to a Signal chat discussing sort of strikes against the Houthi rebels in Yemen. And so it comes where he comes under a lot more scrutiny. But I think you'll find that the Trump administration, particularly this second one, as opposed to the first one, they really have closed ranks around him. I mean, we saw him sitting right beside the president during this week's cabinet meeting. And I think the idea is they're gonna try and sort of really protect him. There was the idea that they've kind of, blamed the officer in charge that, Hegseth wasn't even in the room for this second strike. And so I think they're going to try and, protect him from as much of the political fallout as possible. But we'll see if that is something that they can maintain.
All right, Naomi, thank you very much. That's Naomi Lim there, White House reporter at the Washington Examiner.